Okay, we're back with video number 3 of the coolest Fat Albert toy collection you've ever seen. This is Daryl D. I'm your host, and I'm going to be showing you more items from my personal Fat Albert Collectibles collection. How does that sound? Anyway, let's get started. So, the first thing I want to show you, which is pretty obvious, is this cool Fat Albert shirt button up made by FUBU. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that FUBU came out with an entire line of Fat Albert clothing, everywhere from t-shirts to button-ups to jeans to sweaters. I even once had like a Fat Albert bathrobe. So they made a ton of stuff, and it was pretty pricey. This is actually a gift from a good buddy of mine, Monica. Monica, thank you so much. And I'm going to be showing you, like, this is one of the newest pieces that I have in my collection. So I received this from Monica, I think in 2003, 2004, somewhere up in there. So mid-2000s. And I even remember after a while, because you would find these in the clothing stores, you know, a lot of them that you would see at the malls. But I remember going into, I needed to buy a tie. And I remember going into Burlington Coat Factory, and they had a ton of Fat Albert clothing in there. Like, the whole line was in there. There was a ton of Fat Albert stuff in there. I didn't pick anything up because even though it was cheaper than in the mall, and this was some years after the line actually, you know, came out, it was still kind of pricey. And I just wasn't spending that kind of money on clothing. So this is actually one of the newest pieces in my collection that I wanted to show you. Alright, so the next newest piece from my collection, what company is this? What is this? Saba Toys came out with a line of Fat Albert figures. This is from 2005. And this is Dumb Donald. And this line actually, what would that be? Probably about 7 inches. Where's my tape measure? About 5.5. 5.5 inches on this set. Newest Fat Albert item in my entire collection. What I don't understand is, out of all of the Cosby kids, they only made 4 of these figures. So you got Dumb Donald there. You got Mushmouth, which is pretty cool. Let's get a closer look at that. So you have Mushmouth, you have Fat Albert, he's kind of really round, man. He's probably about 3-4 inches round. Thick figure right there. And then the last one they did was Weird Harold. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they did just 4. It wasn't like they were doing them one at a time and, you know, seeing how they sell, and kind of all 4 of these came out at the same time. As you can see on the back, it says collect them all. And these are really, really cool. I really, really like these based off of the size. They're just bigger versions of the tiny ones that came out in the 70s. I just wish they had done all of them. You know what I mean? So if they would have done that, I probably would have bought two sets, and I probably would have opened one. You know what I mean? But yeah, I bought these like soon after they came out. I'm not sure if I bought them right when they came out. I probably did, but a lot of toys that I was buying back then, the action figure type toys that I was buying back then, I used to buy from either Tower Records, cause especially like the hip hop rap figures, the Run DMC stuff, the the Notorious B.I.G. stuff. A lot of those figures, those Mezco figures, I would buy them at either Tower, where quite often when I went in there, they had like a whole toy section, when they were around, and they used to have lots of toys on clearance. So if it wasn't Tower, then it was. Do you guys remember that store called Suncoast? It was like the place where you could go and buy movies in the mall. They just sold lots of movies. Well, those of you who are really familiar with that place know that they also had a massive amount of toys that they were selling there. And most of those toys were action figures because they were based on, a lot of TV shows or movies, or they were music related stuff. So I bought a lot of like my, Notorious B.I.G. stuff, my Biggie stuff in there, and a bunch of other stuff. The Clerks, remember that? All of those figures came out. I got all of that stuff at Suncoast. And I noticed a pattern with Suncoast is they also had a ton of clearance items. So I remember this one time in particular. I don't remember. It was probably some Run DMC stuff, if I remember correctly. But I remember going in there and seeing some stuff I wanted, and I was like, I'll be back in 6 months when all of this stuff is on the clearance rack. And sure enough, that's what I did. So that's what I would do. I would just, if I saw something that I loved, I would just wait. I would wait anywhere between 4 to 6 months, and if it didn't sell by then, it would end up on the clearance rack. And I remember a lot of the Clerks figures. I bought those for maybe $2.99, and I think when they came out, they were like $9.99 or $12.99. But I'm just assuming that's where I got these Fat Alberts from, because I don't remember exactly, but they are who would have been selling them. It would have been either Suncoast. What was the other place I just mentioned? It was Suncoast, Tower Records, or it could have been Zia Records here. It was just a small music chain here. It could have been any of those three. So yeah, these were 2005 that they came out. Okay, so that's it for the new stuff. Okay, let's look at some older stuff. Let's look at some big items. So this one, I can't even, this is 1977, and this is the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids street hockey set. So you got the hockey stick and you got the hockey puck. And let's take a closer look. I can't really show it this way. I can show some of it. See that? This is like a very weird Fat Albert item, because it's not like, I don't recall any episode where they were playing hockey, but there probably was one. But they were putting any kind of character on any kind of toy to sell it, and there'll be more examples of that probably on the next video. They were making a little bit of everything, but this is I thought this was pretty cool just to have it for collectible purposes. But the item I want to show you next, I think, is like, it kind of goes hand in hand with this. But it's kind of like, okay, so why did you make both of these items? Let me show it to you so you see exactly where I'm coming from. So that was the hockey stick. This was called, and this might have been the same, yeah, the same company. This was like the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids Street Games set. So this was HG Toys. Now this was probably 77 too. I'm not sure because I don't see. The hockey stick set came out in 77. What do we got over here? Yeah, they didn't put the year on here, but if you look very closely, up here we have a basketball, we got a hockey puck, and then we got the same hockey stick as the last one. And then we got a football down here at the bottom. And this sucker's still sealed from back in the day, so it's never been opened or removed from the box. So they make a hockey stick and a hockey puck first, and then, or they do that and then they do this one. I'm assuming that one was first, but what do I know? Maybe they made it, the hockey stick and puck by themselves and go, that was such a great seller. Let's stick a few, excuse me, let's stick a few other sports items in there, and let's just sell them all together and see what happens. And this is the result of that. It says that there's some bracket right here. I don't know what that's all about. This little metal bracket right here under the hockey puck. And I don't know, maybe that was to hang the hockey stick on. I'm not exactly sure, but this is cool. Have you ever seen any Fat Albert toy like this ever before? I think this is a pretty cool item to show off in my collection. I'm glad I have it in my collection. Now, let's look at some lunch boxes. Okay, I know some of y'all have been waiting on that, and I'm not sure what new stuff might have come out, but as far as the vintage Fat Albert lunch boxes, there was actually 4 of them. Now, most of you guys are familiar with the metal one, the classic metal Fat Albert lunchbox. It's got all of the cool panels. Man, this was like one of the coolest metal lunch boxes that came out back in the day. The lunchbox game was crazy back in the 70s, and my personal favorites of all time out of that era was the Fat Albert lunchbox. The Kiss lunchbox was unstoppable, and of course, you couldn't have had a metal lunchbox back then without having Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man lunchbox. There were a lot of cool lunchboxes. None of them were touching those 3. Those 3 were the best. And I used to have a real massive lunchbox collection, but I just was running out of room because I was collecting so much stuff. So right around, I don't know, maybe 2008, 2009, I got rid of my lunchbox collection, but I kept the ones that I really, really wanted. I had a Hong Kong Phooey that was mint condition, absolutely flawless, but I ended up selling it to this big time collector. But and then I eventually sold my Kiss and my $6 Million Man, which is crazy now that I think about it. But of course, I had to keep Fat Albert. So obviously, Fat Albert was, man, that reminds me of my childhood right there. Obviously, Fat Albert is obviously my favorite because those are the ones I actually kept. And this one still has the thermos with it. Let's take a closer look. So there's the original thermos that goes with the lunchbox, the matching thermos. Quite often, the thermoses are long gone from the actual original lunchboxes. And I actually have two thermoses. I have this one, and then I have a loose one. And I'm not sure where I got the loose one from, but man, this brings back such memories. And back then, generally speaking, they would either put hot cocoa in here or they would put hot soup in here. And if you look at that, you could just drink it right out of there. That was old school pop culture madness. You know what I mean? So cool. Such a cool item. And I'm glad that I was able to find this with the original thermos. So I might end up selling the other thermos. I don't necessarily need to, but yeah, this is the classic one. This is the best one of all of the lunch boxes, and it still has, what is this? Here's your item. Oh, that tells me that I got this off of eBay back in the day. So, now let's look at the next one. How many of you guys have seen this? This is plastic. And is that the same? Yeah, that's the same picture that's on one panel of the metal one, but they didn't put any other pictures, you know, on there, just that front one. And I don't have the thermos for this one. I suppose I could stick that other thermos in here, but I'm not exactly sure that it came with the same thermos. And mine, as you can see, has like a broken handle on it. Man, these things have been in storage for the longest. But I used to have all of my lunch boxes on display. All of my Fat Albert stuff was on display. But tell the truth, have you ever seen the blue one? This is a hard one to find. Very, very hard. And then it also came in red. The very same lunchbox came in the color red. So these two are exactly the same, just different colors. You know, no additional pictures or anything on there. But of course I had to have them. And then the last one, the fourth one I want to show you, it's also plastic. Same picture, but just in different, it's kind of a different sequence. Like, see how Fat Albert is down at the bottom? Like, on this one, he's up in the top corner or whatever. And if you compare this with the other plastic ones, you can see the difference in between them. Look at the handles. Look at the build on there, the snaps. Completely different style. 1973 on this one. And this one says 1973. Yeah, 1973, and this one has the same picture on both sides. Thermos was a company. They were making like most of those lunch boxes back in the day. And what's inside here? Well, would you look at that? The same thermos. That actually looks like a darker color, but it's pretty much the same thermos. So I actually have 3 thermoses. So So I definitely don't need 3. Anybody need a thermos, hit me up. Man, and this thermos is in great condition. Look at that. Perfect condition. Man, this brings back such memories. I know my Fat Albert lunchbox came from Toys R Us back in the day. Thanks, Dad. So those are the 4 vintage Fat Albert lunchboxes. Now, here's something cool. This is still in the plastic. Let me take this out because I want you to actually see this a little better. Sometimes the plastic kind of, interferes with how you can see it on camera or whatever. Let's put that right there. So this is still sealed, completely sealed in the packaging. This is the toy they call it Paint by Numbers. And they came out with a line of these featuring different characters from television. And so what happened was, if you open this up, I wish I could show you, but I'm not gonna open this up. But they will basically have all of this, and then it comes with paint. And so red might be number 1, and blue might be number 2, and yellow might be number 3. So all you would do is, this would be in black and white, and you could actually paint it in, and you would just follow the numbers to the color code, and just follow the numbers, and you would end up painting this. I specifically remember this when they came out, and if you look on the back here, you can see some of the other characters, that they came out with. All of the Marvel stuff, the Popeye, Heathcliff, Mighty Mouse. I'm not sure if this was everything, but that certainly was a pretty incredible start. So yeah, this is incredible. Let's see if we can find a year on this. 1980 this came out. How cool is that? Paint by Numbers. Who remembers that? You got to be around my age to remember that. And let's go with one more on this video. I think this one is super, super cool. I was so happy when I found this. But this, again, it was a company that was putting out the same product but different characters from television, cartoons, and all of that stuff. We got a year on this from 1977. This was the TV comic characters costume and mask. So look at that. Now, I remember these being sold in different stores. You could go in like a Walgreens, or of course you could go to Toys R Us, you could go to Kmart, and they would just have a whole bunch of these. I mean, look at all of these different characters that you could choose from at the time. And it was like a whole lot more than this. But look at that, the Fat Albert one, man. I've had this for so long. And it also, in addition, look at that. In addition to the hat, or to the mask, which still has the little rubber piece on there. In addition to the mask, you also have the actual costume. And so if you take a look at that, that's how it's supposedly supposed to look on you. So I didn't ever wear these things when I was a kid. I mean, I didn't even have this. I didn't find this until, way into my adult years. But man, of all of these masks, this was the one that I always wanted, and I finally got it. I probably picked this up in the early to mid 2000s as well. But man, this thing is like super fragile. Man, how cool is that? See, it goes with my shirt. Very cool, huh? Yes. That's all I'm going to show you on this one. I got more Fat Albert collectibles to show you. I have some really cool stuff. I had some of my best pieces, some of my favorite pieces I'm going to be showing you very soon. Okay, so stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out. I got more Fat Albert collectibles coming to you. I'll see you next time on Daryl D TV. Peace.